Two teams struggling, looking for late-season magic, battled today as the University of Chicago traveled to Pittsburgh to face off against Carnegie Mellon University right here on the PAC Sports Network, as well as the Carnegie Mellon University Athletics website. Alongside Rob McKinney, Jack Ridenour here with you. And Rob, two teams that are right now searching desperately for wins. Carnegie Mellon has not won at home, at least since September 23rd, have not won since September 26th. And for UChicago, they have lost 5 of their last 6.
Yeah, this is a Carnegie Mellon team that had, a lot of high hopes heading into this season. They've had a tough, rough pass, as you mentioned, but covered a game from them earlier on, and they really had some high expectations for some of these really talented athletes on the pitch. Josh Baugh being one of them. We'll see him trotting out to midfield here. But, they have these guys that can score. They have some good defenders, and they have some youth in the net. And right now we're going to see Kai Yamamoto. So this is a well-put-together team that needs to get back into the win column. They're going to try to do it here against the UAA foe.
As we get set for opening kick between these two UAA foes, we'll run through the starting lineups, and we'll start with the visitors. In goal, number 0, Will Boys. 2, Jack Luker. 5, Nathan Munasinga. 7, Kai Walsh. 11, Tanner Baldwin. 13, Robbie Pino. 14, Ryan Yadashevsky. 19, Nick Lohr. 22, David Martin. 24, Lyndon Hu. And 29, Alex Gomez. And over for Carnegie Mellon, 4, Josh Baugh, 5, Brendan Schoenwetter, 8, Jake Slackman, 11, Zach Schoenwetter, 14, Diederik Schlingemann, 15, Eli Campine, 16, Brendan Flynn, 20, Alejandro Fernandez, 25, Henry Hawthorne, 26, Dominic Horweiler, and like Rob mentioned, the freshman keeper, number 37, Kai Yamamoto, as an early chance here, but a heavy touch by Slackman, looking there for Fernandez, but unfortunately could not connect.
It's still a young team mixed with some experience for Carnegie Mellon. Brendan Schoenwetter was the UAA Rookie of the Year last year. We see him here. And this is a team, as I mentioned, it's well put together. It's just, even with the same as women's, it's a lot of parity in the UAA. And when you get those matchups, it really could go either way. And this Chicago team has regressed since last year, but still a formidable foe.
No question. And like you mentioned, Rob, an incredible season, a monumental one, historic one for UChicago. They finished the 22 campaign 22-0-1, and they became the first ever program for the men's soccer program at UChicago to capture the NCAA Division III National Championship. They took down Williams in the final, and just a remarkable season last year for UChicago, but like you mentioned, Rob, not necessarily back to where they want to be. They do come in today ranked number 24th in the nation, so it's the third time that Carnegie Mellon has faced a ranked opponent. They're 0-2 when going up against ranked teams, looking to try and change that here today with Baugh on this free piece.
They have the talent to do it.
Up towards the box, Schlingemann on the backside. Unable to get there, and a great job by Gomez, the 6'2" sophomore out of Georgia, to get his head on that. Carnegie Mellon currently riding a 3-match losing streak. They've been winless in 5 straight matches. And over for UChicago, they have been winless in 5 of their last 6. They are 1-1-4 during that stretch. They've definitely been tested early on in the season, went up against 5 ranked opponents. Came out on top with 3 of those 5 wins against ranked teams. So although UChicago might not have the record that they had and that they put together a year ago, they still have been able to go toe-to-toe with some of the top talent in all the nation. As it's fit through a tight window by Hu. And a good job by Brendan Schoenwetter, muscles it away. Drop back over for Schlingemann, one of the key defenders for this Tartans defense.
Schoenwetter went down hard, seems to be okay, popped right back up. And we saw a lot of physicality between the two women teams before this one. I'm sure we're going to see the same in today's affair between the men.
Schlingemann receives. Baugh, who has 23 points on the season, leads the team. Also has 9 goals and 5 assists. He's been Mr. Everything for this Tartans team.
Yeah, and he really came into his own this year. Coach Bowman was talking to us before the season got started, and he said this is a guy I need to watch out for, and he was right.
Slackman looking for Baugh, and it skipped over for Boys to handle, but Baugh last year, only one goal, came against Mount Aloysius in a game-winning decision, had 4 goals in 21, and then 2 goals in 20. So by far the best season that this senior hailing from Florida has put together. Good passing by UChicago, lofted down for Pino, but the offsides flag bails out Carnegie Mellon, and the early chance for UChicago quickly erased. During this 3-match losing streak for Carnegie Mellon, they've been shut out 2 of those 3 matches. They've only mustered up 1 goal over the last 3 matches. So right now the offense trying to find some answers. And obviously Josh Baugh has been one of those key cogs in the success, but now you might have to find some other players to get involved.
Yeah, and you have to look around. You have to have some of these young guys come in and step up. I really like Alejandro Fernandez. Had an early chance at the onset of this one, showed his speed. Native out of Madrid, Spain.
Yadashevsky keeps it in play. Kai Walsh drops it back for Yadashevsky as Fernandez on his heels. Inside the box, slipped around, and Yamamoto right there to cover. Another early entrance into the box for UChicago, but quickly knocked away. A good move by Baugh as he's blocked out by Gomez. A throw-in one by UChicago. Carnegie Mellon guided by 11th-year head coach Brandon Bowman. Over for UChicago, guided by first-year head coach Philip Croft. Was hired during the summertime. As the whistle goes against Carnegie Mellon, but give a lot of credit to Josh Baugh. He has been doing a fantastic job getting himself into some open space, just has yet to convert. Baugh looking for Fernandez. Retrieved by Martin as he looks to navigate through traffic. Sifted through the defense, but trickles into the box, or at least nearly does, and Schlingemann swings it back. Here's Horweiler, the standout freshman. Horweiler this year with 3 goals on the season. Fernandez into a double team. Opening minutes of this UAA showdown between 2 conference of foes, both struggling at the moment, looking to try and right the ship late in the season. Flynn into the box, looking for someone, can't connect. Zach Schoenwetter streaks in, but unable to find the ball and blasted back down and out of play.
Yeah, you had Zach Schoenwetter right there, just inside the box. Like Schoenwetter had to get turned around to make an attempt at the ball, but nonetheless, I like the aggressiveness out of Carnegie Mellon here in the early parts of this contest.
Horweiler. Schlingemann with space. Up to Henry Hawthorne. He surveys the scene. Carnegie Mellon looking for a good opportunity as Brendan Schoenwetter with a little too much strength. Again, looking for Baugh leaking into the box. But this UChicago team has marked number 4 in red fairly well through the first 7 and some change minutes.
As they should.
Gomez. Yadashevsky. As it poked free by Schlingemann, slows down the run. But Tanner Baldwin with a quick burst of speed. Already UChicago playing with great speed early and a lot of urgency. UChicago comes in with a 6-2-5 overall record, 1-1-2 in the conference. Carnegie Mellon 7-4-3 overall, 0-2-2 in the UAA, still looking for that first conference victory of the season.
And how cool would it be to get your first conference win against the reigning champs?
Not to mention also would get the first ranked victory of the season for Carnegie Mellon. Fernandez gets into a tussle, slip down for ball.
Forward ball, get higher.
Zach Schoenwetter doing everything he can to keep that in play, but still wins a throw-in. Flynn with swift movement, but quickly erased. Good job by Hu on the defense, the 5'9" junior. Yadashevsky applies pressure into a boxing match with Schlingemann. Kicks out for Walsh. Back to Yadashevsky. Settles, fires, and puts it through! Ryan Yadashevsky, not even 10 minutes into this, makes it 1-0 U Chicago.
He's settled it down, was in, Schlingemann was right there. Looked like defended it nicely, but when that ball got worked up, Yadashevsky just stopped, popped, and got it past Yamamoto to give Chicago the lead, and that was well executed.
For Yadashevsky, it's now his team-leading 7th goal of the season. Pulls past his teammate in Robbie Pino for the team advantage, and now a 1-0 advantage for the Maroons. And for Carnegie Mellon, down in a 1-0 hole, obviously a lot of time to make up that difference, but don't want to start out in a deficit, not even 10 minutes into it. As Horweiler going 1-on-3 somehow slips through the cracks. Ball looks to counter. Flynn.
Henry back inside a little.
Fernandez and Flynn play a two-man game. Back out for Flynn. Trying to make something happen. Fernandez pinched along the back line. Looking for that corner, but he gets the throw in nonetheless. Flynn fires it off of Walsh. Sets up yet again another deep throw-in. So Carnegie Mellon surrendering an early goal, but generating some chances in the attacking third for themselves to try and answer. Fernandez into traffic. Here comes Horweiler as he rifles it well out of play. But that's just a player that you want taking, obviously, a shot, especially if you've got some space. His 3 goals during his freshman campaign. Native of Portland, Oregon. As Will Boyes directs traffic and ushers everyone downfield.
Yeah, it seems like the style of play for Carnegie Mellon is really at the forefront here in the beginning parts of this game, controlling the pace of play. But that was the first shot on goal of the game that the Maroons were able to capitalize on. But, I mean, if you took a look at it, you know, from really if you didn't just look at the score, I mean, you would probably say that Carnegie Mellon has had the advantage so far.
Tardens have had chances, but it's U Chicago that has converted early. Ryan Yadashevsky getting a goal about the 9th minute into action, his 7th of the season. And for a team in U Chicago that has been winless in 5 of their last 6 matches, exactly the start that they want, especially on a chilly, cold Pittsburgh afternoon on a Sunday.
And who better to do that than their leading goal scorer?
Yadashevsky, an all-UAA performer last year, was also part of the NCAA All-Tournament team. He's a 2-time UAA Athlete of the Week. Had 13 goals last season, 1 assist, good for 27 points. He had 7 goals the year prior in 21. So absolutely lethal when it comes to the offense is Ryan Yadashevsky, the senior from Edmond, Oklahoma. Alex Gomez to throw this. Fernandez. Works through traffic. Back for Brendan Schoenwetter. Evades Yadashevsky as he looks for a quick takeaway goal, but swung over for Schlingeman. Ball. Spins away. Good connection here for the Tartans. Slackman. Hawthorne. Tartans looking for that equalizer. Trying to erase this one-goal deficit. But a takeaway by Walsh. In an open space. Finds Pino. Back to Walsh on the run. Over for Pino, and it's blocked. Pino gets it right back on the rebound. Marked heavily by Flynn. And it sets up an early corner for UChicago. But good job by Carnegie Mellon to once again wall up and not allow that second goal going through.
Yeah, that was Eli Campine who was right there to defend it away. It looked like a great opportunity on net, but now they have another one here with the corner.
Lyndon Hu to put this one into the box. Great ball headed up, and the strike that goes over the box. Yadashevsky with the karate kick. Nearly snuck it through, but to no avail.
Yeah, that just missed. He seems to be in the right place at the right time and has a heavy shot with that right foot. That time missed by a matter of inches.
Well, Yadashevsky, their clear sharpshooter with 42 shots coming into this afternoon. Next highest is Lyndon Hu at 29. So a 13-shot difference between first and second on this Maroons roster.
And sometimes, you know, obviously being in the right position, it's part of your game plan to feed him the ball. But it seems like in these particular instances, the ball is just kind of finding him. And when you have that scoring touch and that prowess, it's almost like you're a magnet.
Baldwin. Lohr feels lots of pressure, and Boys has to swing it over. Munasinga squeaks it ahead for Walsh. Another breakaway. As UChicago trying to build on this 1-0 deficit, but Ball a little too strong on the touch. Gomez. Drop back for Lohr. As UChicago right now winning some of this possession battle, fairly even, but still the upper edge, most likely to the Maroons. And Carnegie Mellon in jeopardy right now of falling down by 2 goals if they can't negate any chance here, as Yamamoto leaps up and snags it away from Walsh, streaking into the goal box.
Look at the vertical on him, huh?
Doing a great job springing for that one. Listed at 6 foot, but getting lots of elevation there. Inside of 30 minutes to play. Ryan Yadashevsky for UChicago with the difference maker. Carnegie Mellon trying to counteract and find an equalizer, but here's Yadashevsky. 3-on-3 break. Over for Walsh. Settles, fires, and it's blocked. Good job by Campine to wall up, and the whistle comes in as it's against UChicago. Who with the follow-up shot.
And that was Brendan Schoenwetter who went down hard. The second time he's gone down hard today, but again popped right back up.
The all-time matchup between these two programs going back to 1998. Pretty even, 10-10 to 4. However, it's UChicago that has been on a roll as of late against the Tartans, as they've won each of the last 6 meetings between these two. Good job by Flynn to come up and steal it. Slackman too heavy on the touch, and Munasinga runs away. Yadashevsky runs into the Campine wall, and a good job by the Carnegie Mellon defense. Swing it for Hawthorne. And Gomez darts up. Popped up by Hawthorne as he helicopters down. But a throw-in comes for UChicago. Brennan Schoenwetter as well as David Martin both getting a little tangled up with their toes.
Yeah, it looked like the shoelace of Schoenwetter got stuck in the cleat of a Maroon, and yeah, it went down hard. But again, he can see Schoenwetter's been on the ground 3 or 4 times today, but all good.
Yeah, that did seem a little unusual because Schoenwetter was trying to dislodge his foot, but it almost looked like it got caught on Robbie Pino. Yadashevsky looks for Martin. Broken up by Hawthorne, but then the fortuitous bounce over for Luker. Up ahead, looking for who? A gentle header. And once again, Carnegie Mellon escapes. Chipped ahead, Fernandez with the gentle touch, but could not locate, and Martin swerves away with the steal. Strike by Pino, and Yamamoto barely gets enough of a hand on it, but it still works out to his favor. What a save by the 6-foot freshman.
Yeah, that looked like that was going to go top right of the net. But Yamamoto getting up again, showing those impressive hops, getting a little bit of the palm of it, well-timed. And he's been strong when he's been tested.
Jack Luker on this corner. Second corner of the day for UChicago, trying to enlarge in this 1-goal advantage. And a little too heavy as Pino keeps it in play. They reverse it back. Yadashevsky just wide. Looking for a second goal of the afternoon, but comes up just inches away from it.
He was trying to tuck it in just a little bit off, maybe more of his temple.
Who gets a piece of the pass? And once again, Carnegie Mellon struggles with moving it downfield, and UChicago gets to reset. It's Luker again on the corner. Now the third corner already in this first half for UChicago. It's the number 24 ranked Maroons trying to keep themselves in the top 25 rankings. And another punch away by Yamamoto. Recoils back for Baldwin. Here's Pino, second on the team in goals. Gets it in, and Fernandez navigates it away. Back for Ball. A heavy touch up ahead, but Gomez cuts him off. Baldwin, and Yamamoto receives.
What a play by Gomez on Ball. Ball had the speed. Gomez settled down, got the positioning, was able to kind of box him out and turn it to a teammate. This defense for Chicago, very stout.
Yeah, it seems that every time Carnegie Mellon is building a run, it's quickly taken away, and give credit to Alex Gomez. He has been that backline defender that has been stagnating this Carnegie Mellon offense. Once again, it's Gomez that comes into control of it. Here's Who. In an open space, sneaks ahead for Yadashevsky. Works on Hawthorne. Into the box. Sent over for Luker, and it's blocked. Looked to be Brendan Schoenwetter that got a foot on it. And once again, Carnegie Mellon's defense having to tighten up the clamps. Nearing 20 minutes to play in this opening half. UChicago getting on the board first, thanks to a goal in about the 9th minute by Ryan Yadashevsky. And the Tartans in an uphill battle at the moment as they continue to get good looks, but not great looks. As Evan Canelos as well as Danny Mendoza both check in for UChicago. And Rob, I think we can both agree that Carnegie Mellon is playing pretty even with UChicago. It's just a matter of UChicago maybe executing a little bit better in prime opportunities.
And they have really put the pressure on. They kind of just know what Carnegie Mellon's going to do offensively. We saw a couple minutes ago, it was a give and go from Baugh to Slackman. Slackman tried to give it back to Baugh, but the defense for the Maroons, they knew exactly what was coming, and they were step for step with Baugh to intercept that ball. It just seems like the plays are there, but the Maroons are one step ahead of them.
Fernandez sneaks it down. Settled by Slackman, but he fires it into a wall as Lohr right there to block it. And then Walsh scurries away with the 50-50. Here's Canelos, recently checked in for UChicago. Gomez. Walsh too heavy on the touch, but the foul comes against Carnegie Mellon as they just get a little too aggressive. UChicago controlling the tempo of this one so far. Trying to take their time, look for a little bit of an extra incentive goal. Get a little bit of wiggle room against this Carnegie Mellon's team that's looking for their first home win since September 23rd. Here's Mendoza into the box, and it's blocked away by Hawthorne. Canelos nearly connecting, but it rolls back for Brennan Schoenwetter. Mendoza not giving up on the play and kept in the attacking zone at least momentarily. Here's who? Zigzags. Back for Walsh. Looks for an angle, can't connect with Canelos, and Yamamoto takes his time. Not only the Tartans looking for their first win since September 23rd, but also looking for their first conference win of the 23 campaign. Fernandez trying to string together offense, but it's Munasinga that quickly negates it. And again, we see more and more good defense by this UChicago team. Anytime that Carnegie Mellon putting together a run, quickly shut down. Hawthorne. Here's Ball. Looking for an angle. Crosses. And navigated away by Luker, but Fernandez chases it down. Over for Hawthorne. He's got real estate. Another cross. Header, and it goes through! Jake Slackman with the equalizing goal makes it 1-1 at the 18:48 mark. What an equalizer by Jake Slackman. Getting a great cross. And Slackman, for the third time this year, getting one to go through in the back of the net. And all of a sudden, we're all square at one.
Yeah, that was a tremendous finish by Slackman. Great setup to him, as we do have someone down, Hawthorne down. Seems to be grabbing at that left leg.
And Julian Koide is checked in, I'm assuming for Hawthorne. I'm not quite sure what happened to Hawthorne on the play. It seemed that whatever happened was after the fact. As 11th-year head coach Brandon Bowman goes to check on his freshman defender. Might be the 11th year that Coach Bowman has been here at Carnegie Mellon, but it's his 23rd year coaching. He's taken this program to 4 NCAA appearances, one of them coming last year. Prior to Carnegie Mellon, he was at Transylvania University from 2002 to 2013 in Kentucky. Was a 4-time Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference Coach of the Year. Also spent time in the Division I ranks at Miami of Ohio as an assistant from 98 to 2000. Hawthorne still being 10-2. And I think we can both agree here, Rob, these long pauses in play, especially after big momentum shifters, if you will, they can at times be momentum killers, depending on how your team can rebound back, especially with how cold it is. It's hard to go, get warmed up, and then all of a sudden come to a screeching halt.
Yeah, and that certainly affects both sides as Hawthorne is up, which is good. Getting a round of applause here. And just glad that he's okay. He's been playing well.
So Hawthorne seems to be all right as he gets set to re-enter into the match. But because he was injured and left the field of play, has to wait to be re-entered back into contest. So play resumes as we're all even at 1. Jake Slackman with the header, and a fantastic one at that, getting it past the senior keeper in boys. And now Carnegie Mellon, they might smell blood. They want to take advantage, as this is a brand new ball game.
We heard Eli Campine come over and pump up his bench and say, hey, we're still in this. They absolutely are. Tied at 1. It seemed to go very much in favor of University of Chicago.
As Yamamoto able to sky away with that.
But this is still a really good CMU team. They have lots of guys that can compete and score. Slackman did just that. And that was, you sort of felt like this whole place just gained confidence.
Zach Schoenwetter with a beat on it, but boys there first. And it's plays like that, you know, very similar, I feel, to baseball. One swing, one kick, and all of a sudden things change drastically. And what looked to be UChicago controlling tempo quickly turns into a, like you mentioned, Rob, all even of a ball game all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's not so much like basketball, right, where there's instantaneous momentum shifts, but or volleyball for that matter, but it seems like we certainly have some extra juice here for the Tartans.
Koide finds Slackman into a foot race, but the offsides flag comes up. As that was awfully close, but nonetheless an offsides either way. Inside of 17 minutes to play in this first half. These two UAA opponents struggling in the latter stages of the 23 campaign, trying to find some late season traction as they make a push towards the end of the year. Here's Koide, trapped by defenders. Gomez prodding and poking, but stays with the Tartans. As Canelos boxes out Koide, and the whistle comes against Carnegie Mellon. As looks that Jake Slackman may be the guilty party. Here's Luker. Juggles to himself. Ryan Shea, who's recently entered in, staying persistent. Now a wrestling match for the ball with him and Eli Campine. Eli wins the wrestling match. Zach Schoenwetter weaves around Munasinghe, applying good defense, and Munasinghe wins the battle and sets up the goal kick. Really nice defense from the senior from Frisco, Texas, staying toe-to-toe with Zach Schoenwetter. And now it looks that Munasinghe, he might just be adjusting his shin guards. Jaden Singh Bailey checks in for UChicago, the 5'9" freshman from Oak Park, Illinois. UChicago looking for their 7th win of the season, trying to pick up their 2nd in the conference. For Carnegie Mellon, just trying to get back into the win column for the 8th time this year and pick up their first UAA victory. So Singh Bailey takes out Munasinghe, one of the many strong defenders that is on this UChicago roster. Again, the reigning NCAA Division III champion UChicago team. Finished last year with an impressive mark of 22-0-1. As a foot race, Slackman all over Lohr. Nearly lost it, gets it away, but Carnegie Mellon fighting for the possession, and it's won by UChicago. Martin comes away with it, up to Singh Bailey, and he tumbles down. A whistle comes.
And a yellow.
And the yellow pulled.
And that's on Campine, and he's been pretty aggressive in this game. You saw him fire up his team earlier on, gotten a little, as you mentioned it, wrestling match, and now getting the yellow card.
He's been pretty much an everyday starter going back to last year. And Campine, even before we got on air, was very enthusiastic during the starting lineup announcements, hyping up his bench, trying to get his guys engaged for this one as the Tartans want to pick up their first ranked win of the year. And what a ranked win it would be, not only against the number 24 ranked team, but also the reigning D3 champions. Luker with a big ball, sent right towards Yamamoto, and Lohr sniffed around the goalpost, just could not smell it out. And we're all squared still at 1 as we approach the final 14 minutes in the first half.
Yeah, great patience there by Yamamoto. Waited, and then knew that ball was coming. They didn't get enough of it, but Yamamoto in the right spot at the right time, able to gather it. And as you mentioned, keep it a tied score. And that went into the trees.
I thought that was heading towards Chicago's bus. That would have been no fun. Broken window on the ride back.
It's a little chilly for that, yeah.
Yeah, a little chilly. We'll have to blast the heat. Lyndon Hu to put this corner in play. And that is a part of this match that has been dominated thus far by UChicago. Can they convert? Low liner that somehow skips around and in.
Yeah, I got to be completely transparent with you. I have no idea how that ball got in. I don't know if it deflected off someone. Yamamoto didn't know where it was. Literally all that happened, it might have just gone straight through and right in. But regardless, 2-1 lead for Chicago on a pretty crazy way to score there.
Yeah, we'll wait for confirmation on who that goal is exactly by either Lyndon Hu, could also have been Evan Canelos. That was near the scene of the crime, as well as Nick Lohr.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure here. We have Andrea here to our left who's handling the stats. I think we'll get a final verdict here as they're trying to figure that one out as well. But, yeah, I'm not sure who to give that one to, but somehow, some way it made its way in the net. That's all that matters.
So all of a sudden, UChicago back in front 2-1. As we continue to seesaw back and forth between both of these UAA teams in this opening half. Very action-packed beginning to this one. We'll make sure to get you confirmation at home of who that goal is scored by. Again, we're still sorting it out, but nonetheless, what matters is that Maroons are up 2-1 over the Tartans. And after what looked to be, again, back to an even match between these two, all of a sudden UChicago taking the momentum. Here's Singh Bailey, gets into a fight with Hawthorne, pinballs back to Campine. Intensity starts to ratchet up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Brendan Schoenwetter, marked by Pino. Pinched along the sideline. And
Schoenwetter again went down hard.
Yeah, he's taken a couple spills the reigning UAA Rookie of the Year. First time that Carnegie Mellon has had a player win the award since 2003 when it was Jonathan Brown. Hawthorne may or may not have gotten away with a handball, but nonetheless, Canelos letting his presence be known.
Well, Canelos is who Hawthorne ran into on the near side, and he went flying into the Chicago bench, so I'm sure a little bit of payback there.
Billy Bukovalis for Carnegie Mellon has entered into the match as well, as Luker spears it over for Gomez. Finds the feet of Shea. Chased by Tartans into a foot race with Brendan Schoenwetter, nowhere to go. Works down, but then Campine right there to sweep it under the rug. And I'm sure for the Maroons, that has to build that confidence all the way back up after going up 1-0 thanks to Ryan Yadashevsky. And then it was Jake Slackman that equalized it. And now, again, we're back in front with the Maroons leading. Sing Bailey turns, looks for Pino, slips it through the window, gets around the edge, no whistle as he tumbles. And Slackman, too heavy on the touch. Martin looks for an angle. Dropped over for Shea and then popped up. And Brendan Schoenwetter again hits the deck as he has just been all over the place. And now the whistle stops. Looks like Campine and Sing Bailey might have gotten into it. No cards drawn, but the chippiness in this match starting to intensify as we near the final 10 minutes of the opening 45.
Well, back half of the year, towards the end of the season, right, you're going to get that with conference play. Both these teams a little frustrated with recent outcomes and recent games. The intensity is high here, and you can see it.
Popped up by Lohr.
Stay, Brendan. Stay, Brendan.
Horweiler. Koide. Off the screen by Hawthorne. Another cross. And it's knocked out of bounds by Mendoza.
Well, Brendan Schoenwetter was sneaking in there on the backside. If that wasn't headed out of harm's way, that would have been a glorious scoring opportunity for Brendan Schoenwetter.
Here's Billy Bukovalis, one of the few corners that Carnegie Mellon has had today, looking for the equalizer. Low line drive, and it's taken care of by Martin. Comes right back for the Tartans. Popped up, Schlingeman keeps it. Zach Schoenwetter can't control, and boys right there to swallow it up. Gomez. Sing Bailey, and he can't connect, but another beneficial bounce that goes off of Hawthorne. As we see Jed Horowitz check in for UChicago, freshman from New York, New York. It's a UChicago team that currently ranks 5th in the UAA out of 8 teams in goals on the season. However, they have fired off the most shots amongst all of their conference cohorts. First in the conference with 225 coming into this afternoon. Sing Bailey. And he coughs it up. Good job by this Carnegie Mellon defense. A marvelous stop for the Tartans, but again, the possession stays with UChicago as we tick down to the 8-minute mark in the first half. Sing Bailey through the thickets of the defense. Luker. He looks to reset for UChicago. 8 total shots for UChicago thus far, 3 for Carnegie Mellon. But the key for UChicago, 4 of those 8 coming on frame. Canelos gets knocked off his line. Who? And Sing Bailey as it bounced over him. William Rabin as well as Wanda Otero get set to check in for Carnegie Mellon. Bukavalis off his body. Koide, and he can't connect with Slackman, the lone goal scorer today for Carnegie Mellon. Hawthorne chops down Shea. The foul comes against 25 in red. Nearing the final 6 minutes of play in the opening half. UChicago in front 2-1. Here's Luker. Towards the backside and nobody home. Squeezes through everybody. And here comes Rabin as well as Otero. And we get official confirmation on the goal. It looks to be Evan Canelos on the corner. So give Canelos credit on this go-ahead goal to put UChicago in front 2-1. Canelos getting his third goal of the season. Bukavalis settles, but too heavy. And Martin swims away with it. Here's Canelos. Horowitz runs into trouble, and Koide tries getting it out of the zone, but again, UChicago applying a lot of pressure. Last touch off Mendoza. Carnegie Mellon sets up as we approach 5 minutes to go in the first half. Tartans on the board, but looking for that equalizing goal and a pull back even with UChicago. Shea works on Campine into the box. Sing Bailey somehow redirects it on goal, but Yamamoto watches it roll out of play, and more chances get generated for UChicago.
Yeah, Yamamoto bid on that, thought it was going to go towards the far post, and he's lucky that it was missed just barely.
Deep throw in for Carnegie Mellon. Looking for their first win since September 26th and their first home win since September 23rd. Trying to avoid losing their fourth consecutive match. And UChicago looking for their second win in the last 6 matches. As Mendoza can't connect with anyone inside the box. Rabin slips it for Otero. And he comes away with it, and Rabin attempts the slide but can't keep it in bounds.
Yeah, couldn't get to it. Otero, just a soft little nudge to him. Rabin couldn't get there in time.
And it looks like one of our referees today have to intervene on any aggressive play. Want to make sure everyone's playing good, clean soccer. Like you mentioned, Rob, getting towards the end of the season, the intensity, the sense of urgency, if you will, starts to get cranked all the way up, especially as these games mean so much more as the season winds down. Into the box, Canelo sneaks around, but to no avail, and it rolls all the way back for UChicago. Here's Mendoza into the box, and once again, kept out of harm's way for the moment. Shea retains possession. Martin, and then Campine arcs it down. Approaching 3 minutes to play in the first half. And Canelos as well as Koide headbutting with one another. Not only is intensity picking up, but so is speed. Both teams flying around right now. Martin finds Horowitz, switches back. And the heel pass by Shea, unsuccessful. Who, with open space, fires, and it goes over the crossbar.
Yeah, that was a long attempt, well over the crossbar, but he found some space to try to take it. I like this shoot-first mentality for Chicago here.
That one goes awry for UChicago as Canelos looks to keep it in play. Nearing 2 minutes to play in the opening half, UChicago getting back in front after Jake Slackman scored the equalizer for the Tartans. But it was Evan Canelos that gets a beautiful pass from Lyndon Hu to put the Maroons back in front by 1. Canelos, Koide, wrestling, fighting, stick with it, still in play, no whistle, and Carnegie Mellon comes back in a possession of it, but Hawthorne looked to be out of bounds, and now a whistle comes as chaos ensues near the UChicago bench. And the Maroons, they love it, but for the Tartans, frustrated the call does not go in their favor.
Yeah, they were saying that Hawthorne was out of play. And
once again, Canelos gets told to back up on the throw-in. Hawthorne redirects. Tight space, and Hawthorne blasts it away. Approaching the final minute. Carnegie Mellon trying to send all the troops up front, maybe force a turnover to get that equalizer. Sing Bailey. Goes crossfield, Mendoza, and he gets it back. What a job by Mendoza. Snuck through for Horowitz. Can't wedge through a double team. Sets up a throw-in as time continues to evaporate off the clock. 33 seconds and counting. Luker throws in. Looking for Horowitz. Blanketed by defenders. And it goes back down for Carnegie Mellon. The time not on their side as 13 seconds remain in the opening half. Wind definitely picks up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but clock winds down as we've played one whole half, and it's 2-1 UChicago. A lot of action in the first 45 as it was first Ryan Yadashevsky that got on the board to give UChicago a 1-0 lead. Jake Slackman equalizes it a few minutes later, and then it's Evan Canelos that pulls UChicago back in front by 1. But, Rob, I think that will be treated with a fun second half.
yeah, it was certainly back and forth there towards the middle part of that first half. CMU trailed 1-0 and then got on the board with Slackman, and then Chicago responds right back off a corner. We're not exactly sure who it touched or how it even made its way in, but it did. And you saw some great speed and great physicality between these two teams. I think if you're Carnegie Mellon, you want to keep that. Also remain disciplined, but I think so far you got to be happy if you're Carnegie Mellon with this first half of play, especially against a ranked opponent and the reigning Division III champions.
We'll see if the Maroons can hang on and get a victory, or if it'll be Carnegie Mellon that pulls back even and maybe pulls ahead. We'll take a break. When we come back, more UAA men's soccer action coming up next on the CMU Athletics website and the PAC Sports Network. Back here at Carnegie Mellon University as we get you set for half number 2, a fresh 45 going on the clock as UChicago owns a 2-1 lead at the moment. But we want to take a moment as Carnegie Mellon Athletics would like to thank its corporate partners, BSN Sports, DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel and Suites Pittsburgh Downtown, Moe's Southwest Grill, Panera Bread, Penn Station, and Pizza Parma. Penn Station is a proud partner of Carnegie Mellon Athletics. Enjoy any of their delicious made-to-order subs. All it takes is one bite and you'll understand why at Penn Station it's all about good taste. Make sure to stop by the Shadyside location at 4815 Center Avenue. You can also check out the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel and Suites Pittsburgh Downtown for your next conference or hotel stay in Pittsburgh. The DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel and Suites Pittsburgh Downtown is a proud corporate partner of Carnegie Mellon Athletics. And Carnegie Mellon Athletics Department would like to also thank Moe's Southwest Grill for being a proud corporate partner. Make sure you visit one of Moe's 7 Pittsburgh locations to pick up a burrito from the official provider of Carnegie Mellon Athletics. Pizza Parma is also the official pizza provider of Carnegie Mellon Athletics and is a favorite for the Tartans, using only quality ingredients, including Italian cheeses, locally grown vegetables, and fresh meats with no preservatives. Pizza Parma is made to order fresh just for you. Visit their Shadyside location or order online to enjoy a Pittsburgh original. Jack Ridenour, Rob McKinney here with you at home. Thanks so much for joining us on a chilly, cold, but not too cold Sunday afternoon in Pittsburgh. Again, UChicago in front 2-1. But, Rob, I think that obviously Carnegie Mellon wants to find that equalizer sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning of this one, you could tell that University of Chicago, their skill was at the forefront. And then you had Carnegie Mellon come back, tie it up, and then off the corner, it was the individual kicked it from the corner. So you got it right as to who scored the goal. We talked with their bench, and it just came in right off the cross, which you don't see too often. And right now you have, and in my opinion, the momentum really isn't in the favor of any one team. It's still been very back and forth despite that lead by Chicago.
Yeah, the momentum kind of in a limbo stage right now. UChicago really came out of the gate strong. Got that first goal on the board really 9 minutes into action. And then Carnegie Mellon able to answer with Jake Slackman's goal, but ultimately it was Evan Canelos that pulled this UChicago team ahead 2-1. And now the Maroons in a good position to get their 7th win of the year, their 2nd in the conference. But for Carnegie Mellon, they're looking to try and snap a 5-match winless streak and more importantly, snap a 3-match losing streak that they're on. They will avoid being shut out for the 3rd time in the last 4 matches, but that's not really the concern for the Tartans. It's getting a win. Here's Pino into the box, finds Yadashevsky, back to Pino, toe touch, over for Baldwin, and he slides and slips, but he sticks with it. Back into the box, Brennan Schoenwetter knocks it away. And Fernandez into a foot race, but it's Martin that wins the race. That's been another theme for the Maroons. They have been the quicker of the two teams to these 50-50 balls as Canelos with a nifty move. Horweiler. Find Fernandez, the native of Madrid, Spain. A nice job by Baldwin to box out Carnegie Mellon. Swung back for Lohr, and then Gomez races up, but it's Fernandez that pivots away with it. Justin Fung starts this second half for Carnegie Mellon. And it sets up a early corner here. Looks to be at least an early corner.
It will be Josh Baugh who will take it.
An early chance in this second half for the Tartans to even the score at 2. Just the man to take it, and Josh Baugh, 23 points on the season for the senior. High cross is Schlingemann on the back door. Can't guide it through. And Yadashevsky blasts it down. Carnegie Mellon also looking for their first ranked win this season. Went up against number 23 ranked John Carroll and number 3 ranked Emory. Fell both times to those 2 ranked opponents. But looking to try and change that history here today. As Fernandez lofts it down, Zach Schoenwetter receives, but Luker plays stronger defense and does a marvelous job at clearing it down. Pino catches up to it.
Help him, Justin!
The second leading scorer for the Maroons, picked up by Campine. Pino, and he runs out of real estate. A goal kick comes for Yamamoto, and the Tartans can lower their shoulders.
Come on, Slack.
Slackman.
Yes, Ali!
Fung rainbows it down, and ball almost got there, but Brendan Schoenwetter stamps it onto the turf.
Come on, Slack, we need it!
Here's Canelos. Baldwin looks for Yadashevsky. Fernandez can't find Slackman. Pino. Inside for Walsh. Dances around. Yadashevsky gathers. Carnegie Mellon wants the offsides. Baldwin has it blocked. Great job by Hawthorne to get a foot on it, and it ricochets over for Yamamoto.
And Hawthorne and Campine have been really, really good defensively. Campine, we saw moments ago, cutting off the angle to allow a Maroon player to get into the net, and right there we saw Hawthorne with a great block. Keeping it close.
Leaks in the attacking third, getting into a tussle with Lohr, but a deep throw-in nonetheless for the Tartans. Zach Schoenwetter.
Connected now. Other side.
Fung. And Yadashevsky just continues to be a ball magnet all over the place. Right place, right time for the senior hailing from Oklahoma. And Rob, I'm sure that this Carnegie Mellon team, they are well aware of 14 in white, but they also have to worry about 13 in white as well. But here's Canelos, 23 in white, and Yamamoto able to smush the shot. Kicks back out for who? Pino fires, and it's absorbed by Yamamoto again.
Yeah, Yamamoto has been tested twice, but fortunately for him, those shots pretty much on line right at him. Not saying they're easy, but ones that I'm sure he's thankful at least are right at him as opposed to making him guess or having to make a sprawling save.
And I'm sure that is a welcome sign for a keeper. First few minutes of the second half, trying to get your feet wet again, if you will, and get warmed up again. Getting some easy saves can maybe set you up, but Yadashevsky through the tight window and somehow slips it through. For the second time today, Ryan Yadashevsky finds the back of the net. It's 3-1 U Chicago.
Yeah, that one went right underneath Yamamoto. It might have been deflected a little bit, maybe off a foot. It took kind of like a weird bounce to the right and on the ground, and Yamamoto just dove right over top of the ball.
So now the Tartans in a 2-goal deficit have to find some way, somehow, to build themselves up, dig themselves out of this hole. But for the second time this afternoon, Ryan Yadashevsky finds the back of the net, and it's now his 8th goal of the season. Reigning all-conference performer in the UAA, putting together another impressive season. Here he is again, marked by Horweiler. Walsh comes up. Horweiler drives through everybody, but then doubles down. Canelos through a tight window, finds Baldwin. Swung over for Gomez, in stride. Sneaks it down. Baldwin on the edge. Looks for Pino, but Brennan Schoenwetter right on cue. Baugh, encased by defenders, somehow escapes for the moment. And Rob, I'm very impressed with the way Baugh is able to handle himself in a lot of pressure. He seems to get himself into tight corners, but then able to escape.
He's a very experienced player, been around the block. This year being his 5th year having his most success. And he just has a sort of poise and confidence about him that you see with a veteran player.
An offsides flag comes against Carnegie Mellon. And that's definitely something that is welcome for this Carnegie Mellon team, that veteran presence. Having somebody like Baugh, who's played in NCAA tournament games, he's played in important matches. He knows what it's like and what it takes to play good soccer at this point of the season. Canelos orchestrates. Back to Luker. And Walsh was looking for somebody to cut through, but unable to do so. And Coach Philip Croft for UChicago encouraging his players to try and keep that urgency up, not satisfied with a 2-goal advantage. It's the number 24 ranked Maroons want to keep themselves in that top 25 ranking as Fernandez zigzags but then coughs it up. Here comes Hu with a burst of speed. And Fernandez forces the momentarily takeaway. And then Brennan Schoenwetter zips it down. Slackman. A nice job to keep it in play, but then Luker purloins it back. Not quite 10 minutes going by in this second half. UChicago already swelling the lead to 2 after Ryan Yetashevsky finds the back of the net for the second time today and the 8th time this year. Here's Yetashevsky again. Just does not give up on plays, and not necessarily somebody that's leaking out and kind of cherry picking, if you will, but he just always seems to find the right alleyway and take advantage. Luker looks for Yetashevsky again. Ball cut off by Gomez. And now UChicago continues to control the possession. Yetashevsky, the Oklahoma native, crosses on Schlingeman, sticks with it, goes to the ground, no whistle. Pino races around a teammate, fires it off the scoreboard, but the concern now, Yetashevsky, team leader in goals, doubled down on the ground.
Yeah, got tangled up with Schoenwetter, who was playing aggressive for the ball, and Yetashevsky, that's one guy they don't want to lose, obviously being there leading in goal scoring, and then today, putting up 2 tallies.
He's slow to get up, but
he seems to be okay. We'll stay in.
Which I'm sure for Maroon fans is a welcome sign. Definitely don't want to have a player of his caliber going down with an injury, especially at this point of the year. And this is a UChicago team that had a lot of expectations to fill coming into the season. I mean, let's face it, when you're the reigning national champion, you've got a target on the back of your head in every single match that you play in. And although it's not necessarily the season that they had last year, still a strong 6-2-5 record at the moment. Still looking for that second UAA win. They're also looking to get their second victory in the last 7 matches. And that could be the spark that they need to carry them through the rest of the season. And now Yetashevsky being not necessarily assisted off the field, but guided.
He seems to be kind of grabbing at his abdomen region. Coming in for him is Sing Bailey.
Sing Bailey was pretty much an immediate insert into the lineup this year for UChicago. He started 2 of the first 3 matches he played, and then he got his first goal of the year against Rochester. That's a nationally ranked Rochester team as well, and again, another UAA opponent. We mentioned it all in the first half, and we'll continue to mention it, Rob, but this UAA conference, men's soccer, women's soccer, really in a plethora of sports, just talented from top to bottom.
And it seems like they always have a few that go to the NCAA, and we've seen that across the board with volleyball, with basketball, and here with soccer as well. And if you're going to play Division III, anything really, and you want a great education, this is the conference you go to.
Another block by Yamamoto. There's a near score going through, and talk about a punctuating score that could have been, Rob. Just not necessarily a deflator, but the closest thing to it, because a 3-goal deficit is quite the disadvantage to have to overcome, but now a corner gets set up. Luker gets set to take it, looks to build on this 3-1 advantage. Baldwin on the run, off the goalpost. Iron unkind to Baldwin. Thought he had the 4th goal of the afternoon for the Maroons, but it does set up another corner here for the Maroons. This time it's who to take it.
Another great opportunity for Chicago right off the post, or the crossbar rather, and down. And these opportunities are coming fast for Chicago with now their 7th shot on goal to CMU's 1.
Baldwin chips it towards the box. Back out for Canelos. Settles a slow roller. Recoils back to him. Here comes Walsh. Keeps it in play. Skips around Fernandez. Strikes! And it's blasted back by Yamamoto. Gets an entire fist on the shot. And the freshman keeper doing everything he can to keep that 4th score out of the net. Canelos swivels away and coughs it up. Here's Horweiler. Carnegie Mellon trying to make something happen in the attacking third. Quickly has it curtailed by the defense. Horweiler collides with Hu, and Hu gets whistled for the foul. Hu last year was a first-team All-Region performer for UChicago, was also a second-team All-Conference selection. Fernandez tries crossing, but the door closed quickly by Martin. As Billy Bukavalis and Jake Cavan enter into the match for Carnegie Mellon. If I'm not mistaken, Cavan getting his first bit of action this afternoon.
Fernandez has to come off here to the near touchline. He thought that he just had to go out of bounds in general, but he has to come to the touchline.
Cavan getting some late second half action. Deep throw in. Schlingeman tries to knock it towards the back of the net, but Boy's right there. Cavan last year played in 16 games. Got the start in 4, but the junior this year seeing a different role. As this is lofted down, and somehow Walsh keeps it in play. But to Carnegie Mellon, Slackman is the 1 goal for the Tartans this afternoon. As Horweiler, trapped by Maroons, somehow gets it through. Ball. Bukavalis and Ball on the opposite page, still working out. And then Bukavalis unable to control it, and it sends it right back for the Maroons. Bukovalis off to the races, but then who comes out of nowhere with the steal? Walsh gets knocked down by Brennan Schoenwetter, but play resumes. Fung dangerously drops it back as Sing Bailey just flying all over the place, running circles just about.
He's really putting a lot of pressure on Carnegie Mellon, who's really just finally able to get it out.
Canelos gets there, but comes back for Fung. Changes speeds into a second gear. Gets nudged by Canelos, crossed, and boys! Comes up with a huge save. Didn't want anyone on the backside there. Stretching so far, he looked like maybe a receiver for the Chicago Bears.
I don't think they get the ball all that much.
That's true. I don't know if
just that one time, that one game this year where they had one guy who did well. Everybody else, not so much.
Inside of 30 minutes to play in this second half, 3-1 U Chicago in front. It was 2-1 U Chicago at the half after Evan Canelos snuck through a goal off a corner to pull themselves back ahead of the Tartans. And then Ryan Yadashevsky, for the second time this afternoon, builds on the 2-1 advantage and makes it 3-1. Cavan gets cut off by Canelos, takes it away with ease. Ball. Check that's Slackman on the far side. Nonetheless, a takeaway. Walsh with open space. Slips it over. Pino! Too much. David Schuster checks in for U Chicago along with Ryan Shea. Pino and Baldwin both check out for U Chicago. Looked at Pino was telling his head coach, Philip Croft, that might have been feeling some pain around his groin area. Something to keep an eye on, especially with him being the second leading scorer for U Chicago. Came into the day tied, but Ryan Yadashevsky has since taken that lone spot atop the scoring leaderboard for the Maroons.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since he came out with that injury. Looked like he was grabbing at his abdomen.
Yeah, and for any former athletes out there, you know how tricky those abdomen, oblique, core injuries can be. Definitely a very uncomfortable feeling, to say the least. Here's a nice run. Crossed over, Slackman finds ball, and right on cue, it's Boyce. Boyce continues to do a phenomenal job in between pipes. He was an all-region goalkeeper last year, along with being a first-team All-UAA selection, one of the many for this U Chicago team. Obviously, when you finish the year 22-0-1, you're going to get a lot of guys to make the all-conference team. Bukovalis. And the bicycle clear. Cool move by who? Gomez. Into a race with Hawthorne. Bumps him off his line. Horweiler. Shea puts pressure on Campine. And Schuster nearly muscles it away. And the foul comes against Walsh as Horweiler pops right back up. Baugh looking for the angle. Can't find it. Then he does. But he boots it way out of play.
Yeah, well, he's trying to work towards that far side and somehow, some way get it on net. Could not, but encouraging last minute or so for the Tartans. Approaching into the box, trying to get some opportunities on net. And that's what they need to do down 2. And I think at this point in the game with 23 minutes left in the second half, down by 2, you got to go full steam ahead and try to get this one tied up.
Yeah, this is not necessarily crunch time, but when you're in a 2-goal hole, it's definitely some uphill battle that you've got to go through. Vani Ola has checked in for UChicago, the senior from Wisconsin. Walsh pivots back for Luker. Slipped ahead. Here comes Martin. And a big blast that shoots through. What a strike from the recently checked in Ola all the way out. And he makes it 4-1 UChicago.
And you can hear a lot of cheering from the bleachers, and that is coming from the women's soccer team for Chicago. Here supporting their team, and that was a long shot, but a great one. And talk about a fresh leg coming in off the bench.
His first goal of the season, seeing action in just his 3rd match of the year. Again, Ola just checked in, said why not from about 30 yards out. And I don't want to jump the gun here, Rob, but that could very well be the nail in the coffin for this Tartans team.
Well, it appears that way unless they get a big explosion here, which we haven't seen. And Chicago still seems to be as tenacious as ever.
And Canelos now with a burst of speed, crosses on Fung. Slips it through. The strike again, the rebound, Mendoza. Goes over, but Coach Croft for UChicago, again, challenged his team at the beginning of this half. Let's keep this urgency up, and they have been able to do just that. As we approach the final 22 minutes of action, and Carnegie Mellon in jeopardy of continuing their struggles that they've had over the last handful of matches.
The coaching staff was telling Ola before they come in, they looked at him and said 90 minutes. We play hard for 90 minutes. And he got the message. He ended up scoring the goal to make this a 4-1 lead. And that's exactly the message they've been sending the entire time, keeping up the intensity, because I like that approach. I understand that obviously when you get to a point of a huge lead and you want to be a good sport and maybe not run it up, but obviously with a lead of 3 that they're not in jeopardy of that. But if you're going to go into tournament play and if you're ranked and you are beating a team that you should be beating, you cannot let off the gas, because you don't want to go into that next game thinking anything other than just, hey, we got to go just like we did in the last game, play just as hard, and you want to carry that intensity from start to finish.
Sing Bailey wedges through. A dazzling move by the freshman, gets tumbled down as Chris Lee, the junior who's recently checked in, trips him up. As some encouragement from the UChicago women's team. And now he's a freshman chant has bursted out. UChicago women's team with a draw with Carnegie Mellon.
No goals scored. That's back-to-back no goals scored by Carnegie Mellon. Back-to-back games. It's not fun experience, but at least they get points for ties.
Luker just sneaks it over the crossbar. Nearing 20 minutes to go in this second half. And UChicago not letting their foot off the gas. Continuing to push the pedal to the metal. And here's Mendoza. Finds Schuster. Strikes, and it goes wide.
And Chicago has 8 shots on goal to Carnegie Mellon's 1. Full steam ahead for him.
And now for Carnegie Mellon, going to have to send, again, all the troops out, try and move them upfield and maybe pressure this UChicago team. The Tartans team backed into a deep corner. How will they respond? They've got less than 20 minutes to make up a 3-goal difference as Brendan Schoenwetter coughs it up. Here comes Shea. Downshifts, changes gears, rounds, and it's blocked by Campine. Drop back for Ola. He scored one from that same spot. Says, let me try again. But Yamamoto on the top shelf.
He's looking for the cross to Sing Bailey. A little too strong.
And just to add for Ola, he only played in 1 game last year against Concordia Chicago. So really letting his presence be known in this one, because quite frankly, that 4th goal kind of puts this one into a really jeopardizing position for Carnegie Mellon to have to make up 3 goals in 18 minutes. Not impossible, but it will be challenging. Baugh, who's been awfully quiet as the leading scorer for Carnegie Mellon today, slings it for Cavan. Back for Fung. Crosses towards the box, no one home. Slackman on the backside. And he rockets it out of play. Coach Croft still coaching up his group despite a 3-goal advantage, as he is, again, not pleased with this advantage, wants it to be more. And to your point earlier, Rob, I mean, when you're getting ready for the NCAA tournament and you're supposed to win matches against teams that on paper you're better than, well, I think you also want to make sure that you're putting away teams in that same fashion. You don't want to have the committee look and say, well, you kept them pretty close in the game, so you gave them an opportunity. You want to be able to put teams away.
You're having to carry on that dominance. You don't want to get any bad habits or get sloppy. There's multiple reasons why you need to keep the foot on the gas pedal, and that's exactly what they're doing. But an opportunity here for Carnegie Mellon to kind of silence them a little.
Here's ball on the cross, headed up by Cavan, and can't get it through. Campine chases it down, but shows frustration and slips it out of play. Zach Schoenwetter checks back in for Carnegie Mellon, while Jed Horowitz, the freshman, re-enters for UChicago. He takes out Lyndon Hu, one of the many all-conference performers a year ago. Here's Canelos. He's the one that broke open the 1-1 tie back in the first half off a corner by the aforementioned Hu. Yadashevsky then came exploding out of the gates in the second half to make it 3-1, and then Vani Ola putting a little extra emphasis and making it 4-1. Horowitz has it pried free by Bukavalis. Here's Zach Schoenwetter on the run, picked up by Ola, and it's blocked out of play. But it does set up yet again another corner for Carnegie Mellon. The Tartans now trying to hang their hat on something positive right now, and I think getting these corners might be the trick there. But it's one thing to get the corners, it's another to convert. Here's Chris Lee. Low line drive, and Mendoza takes care of it.
Help down, seconds. Come on, boys.
Lee. Cut off by Ola. And then shot back down by Lohr. Yamamoto resettles, but now more time, more precious time being eaten up off the clock. Carnegie Mellon running out of chances to come back in this 3-goal disadvantage. Sing Bailey. Finds Lohr, and it's headed up.
That's Campine again.
Really good defense by Campine, the junior from Nashville, Tennessee, using every bit of that 6'2" frame to his advantage. Bukavalis arcs it through, but nobody there, and Luker pops it right back. Brendan Schoenwetter. Here's Fung. Time going against the Tartans.
And Slackman tried to do that slight touch to the near side to spring Kavan, but just too hard for him. It seems like they have these right plays in their head designed, and they just can't seem to execute on them.
That's always half the battle, is executing. You can get yourself in the position, but it's what you do after the fact. And right now, Carnegie Mellon, they have just struggled to get themselves into those positions to score. Here's Shea, as far down as he can, and then it's struck through on the backside. Sing Bailey squeezes it through, pours salt in the wound, and makes it 5-1 U Chicago.
And he was on the far side there. Yamamoto diving. And Chicago just able to find the open guy regardless. And Sing Bailey buried it, made no mistake. And an impressive 5-1 lead. It's pretty crazy to think that at half we were tied 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, this one has completely unraveled from the Tartans, and really the floodgates offensively have been broken open by this U Chicago team. 5-1 advantage. And for Jaden Sing Bailey, the freshman, just his second goal of the season, but this Chicago team, they continue to show why they've been atop the leaderboard in shots and shots on goal in the UAA this year. Just getting chance and chance each and every single time. As Brendan Flynn re-enters for Carnegie Mellon. And I know I had mentioned that the nail was put in the coffin at 4-1. Well, I think the wind has left the sails for the Tartans at now 5-1 as Slackman trying to help his case. Lee puts it through. Chris Lee, the beautiful feed from Slackman, makes it 5-2 U Chicago, and Carnegie Mellon looking for some late life. Caracas as well as Dominic Horweiler check in for Carnegie Mellon. And then Ricky Kai checks in for U Chicago. As Coach Croft frustrated with his Maroons. Although his U Chicago group in a prime position right now. Again, not pleased with allowing a second goal to go through, especially with how good this defense has been today. Shea runs into Schlingeman. Here's Caracas. Sends it back for Flynn. Here's Campine. Surveys the scene. Comes into the feet of Bukavalis. And it slips past everybody. Intensity starting to crank up a little bit for Carnegie Mellon, trying to build off the recent goal scored by Chris Lee and give themselves a little bit of momentum to ride for the final 11:47. Well, this could become a situation, Rob, where it might be too little, too late.
Yeah, it seems that way, and coaching staff for Chicago still wants them to go out there and to give, again, we've heard this a few times, 90 minutes, even play solid defensively. Don't get comfortable, even with a 4-goal lead. You know, you could see that quickly go away. And as you mentioned, winning in decisive fashion goes a very long way towards the end of the season, especially if you're trying to get pretty good seeding going into the NCAA tournament.
Canelos shut down by Cavan. And now we see Josh Ball re-enter in. Patrick Lynn has also checked in for U Chicago. As Sing Bailey splits down and Flynn comes away with it. Pushes tempo. Horweiler. Zach Schoenwetter stops on a dime, finds Bukavalis. Looks for an opening. Here's Chris Lee, the second goal scorer of the day for the Tartans. Over for Fung. Stays strong. And then it's knocked away by Lynn. Here comes the Tartans. But then Horwitz again shuts down the chance. Comes back for Chris Lee. Inside of 10 minutes to go, a 3-goal advantage for U Chicago. Looking to get their second UAA win of the year, and Carnegie Mellon in jeopardy of still having a 0 in the win column for their UAA conference schedule. Baugh finds Lee, right back to Baugh. Can't find space, finds Lee, crossed, and it's blocked away. Great job by Lynn, who's recently checked in, playing great defense, leaving his imprint on this one. It looks that a sub is needed for U Chicago as David Schuster comes out. Tanner Baldwin, the senior from Vienna, Virginia, checks back in. Product of Gonzaga College High School in the WCAC, a very strong athletic conference in the greater DC area, as that's popped up, and right on cue, the all-conference goalkeeper boys. Canelos finds Luker. Baldwin tumbles, tries to wedge out space, and Bukavalis gets called for the foul. He is irate. And Bukavalis continues to argue his case, but won't be heard. So we wind down to the final 8 minutes of play. Carnegie Mellon will have their struggles continue after today. Again, they had come into this afternoon on a 5-match winless streak. They've dropped 3 matches in a row. The 2 matches prior to the previous 3 were ties. But again, they have not won a match since they defeated Juniata 3-0 on the road back on September 26th. Ball fights with Ola. And then Boys finds Baldwin. Lee wraps him up, and Lee called for the foul. The home struggles will also continue for Carnegie Mellon. Last time they won here on home turf, September 23rd. They're 3-3-2 at home, but they're 4-1-1 on the road. So they have really separated themselves with that road record. And Rob, I know you and I are both well aware of the importance of playing well on the road, especially during late season play and when you're getting into the postseason as well, because let's face it, if you make the NCAA tournament, there's definitely not a guarantee of playing at home.
No, yeah, you need to be one of the top teams to do that, and it's especially when you get into the tournament, with these schools, especially being a little bit smaller, right? You get a larger audience, and that can certainly play a factor into the outcome of the game. And this is, to be completely transparent, one of the better venues that I've seen in Division III here at Carnegie Mellon. So you would think that the home record would be a little bit better than it was, but it seems like maybe their tougher matchups are here at home.
Well, definitely had their hands full today with the number 24 ranked Maroons, the third ranked team that Carnegie Mellon has played this year. Played number 23, John Carroll. That was a loss. At one point, that was their only loss. Also fell recently to number 3 ranked Emory, a fellow UAA member. Side for Walsh. Popped up and out of play, sets up a goal kick. As seconds continue to melt away here in this second half. Approaching 5 minutes to play in a 5-2 Maroons lead over the Tartans. As UChicago in a prime position to get their second win in their last 7 matches. Not to mention, they would also pick up their 7th straight win against Carnegie Mellon. They'll break that all-time tie. 10 wins for both programs, 4 ties. So it'll be the 11th win for UChicago. Slip down for Mendoza. Lynn to throw in as we're inside of 5 minutes, and the intensity has definitely left the building here, Rob, and it's so quiet you can hear a pin drop.
Other than the women's Chicago soccer team, though.
Showing great support for their Maroon counterparts. Always love that fellow athlete camaraderie.
Well, in high school, we had to I played hockey and baseball, and we had to go to all the other team sports, and that was a mandatory requirement. If you wanted to be on a sports team, you had to support the other teams. And then eventually, as they probably predicted, we just decided to start going anyways to all kinds of different games, and it ended up being our biggest supporters, which was really cool that all of the athletic teams were in on that together. It's that the coaches decided to make all of their teams do that.
It's definitely important to have that fellow athlete camaraderie and that support from other athletes that might not play the same sport as you, but they're still the same athletic department. They're still athletes one way or the other.
And they're all representing the same school. You're one team.
Baldwin off the goalpost. The rebound by Mendoza, no good. Sets up a corner, but Baldwin, he thought he had that 6th marker of the afternoon, but not the case. UChicago takes their time. I mentioned that they came into this match not winning 5 of their last 6 matches, went 1-1-4 during that stretch. So a little get-me-right game here this afternoon. That's sent right near the goalpost. They redo the corner, and Dietrich Schlingemann for Carnegie Mellon a little frustrated with his defense.
Cannot beat you. Cannot beat you. You have to win this.
Here's take 2. And Schlingemann takes care of it. Mendoza on the rebound, and Yamamoto with a huge save.
Yeah, he had a lot of bodies in front of him and was able to go to his left and just able to get the fingertips on it and push it wide. I'm surprised he saw that. I think he saw it at the last second.
There's definitely lots of traffic up front. His third time the charm. It's not, but Canelos gets it on the rebound, and then Bukovalis for a moment looked to have it. But then it's Baldwin that scoots away with it. Inside of 2 minutes to play on this one, UChicago not letting up anytime soon. They are not content with a 3-goal advantage. Here's Walsh, has it poked free by Fung. That sets up a goal kick. Urgency picks up for Carnegie Mellon, but it would virtually need a miracle to happen in the next minute 15 to make up a 3-goal disadvantage. And now a foul comes against Carnegie Mellon. Inside a minute, and all Carnegie Mellon can do is concern themselves for what's on the horizon. For UChicago, well, they can definitely say that this was something that they needed towards the back half of their season to carry them through the rest of the regular season. Campine takes care of it as we're inside of 30 seconds to play. And UChicago, they'll pick up their 7th win of the season, and for Carnegie Mellon, they'll pick up their 5th loss of the year. On the horizon for Carnegie Mellon, they'll have some time off, a week to be exact, as they'll be on the road next week against NYU. And all they can do is probably think about the next matchup that they'll have because, well, they've got a week to think about it. And again, Rob, this is one that I'm sure, as they say, they'd like to maybe burn the tape, pretend like it didn't happen, and just move on from it.
Well, I think there were certainly some bright spots. They competed hard there in that first half, but I think it was just a lot of skill for the University of Chicago, and they had something to prove on that losing skid, and they were a team that is used to winning. When those teams are used to winning and they get a little frustrated, there's really no stopping them, especially with them being nationally ranked, heading into the end of the season, looking for better placement in the NCAA tournament. They had some guys that were pretty important to them get banged up. Hopefully they'll be able to keep it going, but for CMU, there were some good things about today to take away from. But overall, it seemed like they just didn't have it here against the University of Chicago.
On the horizon for the Maroons, they'll be back at home next Saturday against Emory. That should be a good one against a fellow nationally ranked opponent. But a final score here today from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. UChicago 5, Carnegie Mellon 2, as the Tartans move to 7-5-3 overall, 0-3-2 in the UAA as that win in conference continues to evade them. And for UChicago, they move to 7-2-5 overall, 2-1-2 in the UAA, and pick up their 2nd win in 7 matches. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon, whether it was for Match 1 or Match 2. For my broadcast partner, Rob McKinney, this is Jack Ridenauer signing off, not saying a goodbye, just to see you later, right here on the PAC Sports Network and the Carnegie Mellon University Athletics website.